Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon, Michael.
Good afternoon. All right. Well,
Yes.
it's promptly at 1 o'clock, so we're gonna go ahead and maybe give it an extra minute and see if anyone else joins us, and then we'll go ahead and get going. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get going. And if anyone joins us after this, we can get them up to speed, or we will be recording this session and posting this to the Our Reliable website for other entities to be able to join as well, or be able to listen to it. All right, so this is the third meeting that we've had now of subcontractor outreach. Today, we're specifically focusing on the divisions shown on the screen right now, really primarily architecturals and miscellaneous construction types. What we do ask is that you mute your line and turn off any video feed just to help preserve bandwidth and make sure everything goes smoothly. We will have a Q&A session at the end, which we would be more than willing to answer any questions that you may have. And if you do not feel comfortable bringing it up in this forum, you're more than welcome to email us, which will provide our contact information right here. So we'll start with introductions. My name is Michael Nair, one of the project managers for Sun Construction. Along with me today, I have Jared Wagner, who is also a fellow project manager. Not here today is our boss, David Fagerstrom. He is the senior project manager on this project. As well as we have Matthew Gribbins. He's the project manager for the client, the Willamette Water Supply Program. As I mentioned earlier, please email if you have any questions, feel free to email us. What we do ask is that you email us your contact information or post it in the chat of this meeting, and we'll make sure that that we'll get you added to any bid distribution or information distribution done on the job, which we utilize SmartBid to be able to keep track of all potential bidders and kind of control information and public outreach through that forum as well. A little bit about SUNT. We've been around since we were founded in 1890. We currently operate in primarily the Western United States, which are the states highlighted in red, but we have historically done work across the United States as well as internationally. We are headquartered in Tempe, Arizona, but all of the black dots that you see on the map here are where we have offices currently. Another kind of tidbit about SUNT is that we are 100% employee owned. That is not just administrative personnel, but that is also even down to our self-performed craft. All of our crafts folk are also employee owners of the company. Next. All right, so kind of go through the agenda here. First and foremost, we're gonna go over safety share. One of SUNT's primary goals and one of our main attributes that we pride ourselves in is our safety program. And so we start off every meeting with a safety share, and hope that we're able to bring something to you that maybe you've not heard before. We'll be doing a project overview of kind of give everyone kind of a download of what the project is. Go over the brief discussion of the project schedule. We'll go over the bid schedule and bidding opportunities, primarily related to the topics that we'll be talking about today. Instructions to bidders and exhibits and attachments that will go out at bid time. And then we'll have a brief discussion about the best value approach, which a few of the scopes on the project are a best value instead of necessarily a low bid. So we'll kind of give a brief explanation of that. We'll go through discussion of seismic design requirements and also delegated design, and then we'll go through a detailed review of the divisions 4 through 14 as well as 41, and then we'll go ahead and open up the forum for questions and answers at the end of this. So safety share for today is innovative PPE. Just like technologies that we utilize to streamline our processes in the office, in the field we look for any way that we could be able to improve the safety and capabilities of our craft folk. One of the things, recent changes that SUNT is implementing is all of our craft folk are transitioning over to hard hats that have a chin strap. And what we found through analysis, not only within our own company, but within the industry, is that a majority of times during events where there's a fall or something like that, usually the ending result is a head injury. And that is because the hard hat tends to fall off during the initial fall. And because there's no chin strap, nothing keeping it on the person's head. So we are implementing, no matter what style of hard hat you utilize, that either getting an aftermarket attachment to add chin straps, or as shown in the left side of the picture on this slide here, is a new style of hard hat, which is starting to come out into the market, and a lot of people refer to it as a rock climber's hard hat. But we do have projects where this is fully implemented, that all craft and administrative personnel utilize this style, which is a little more different, and people are getting used to them. But they have a lot of great aftermarket attachments to these devices, to these hard hats, that really help improve not only safety but functionality, as well as some performance aspects that aren't currently available with other hard hats. All right, so a brief project overview. So this project, specifically the water treatment plant, is just one portion of a much larger program. We are working for the Willamette Water Supply Commission, which is a conglomerate of the Tualatin Valley Water District, City of Hillsborough, and the City of Beaverton. They have combined together to develop and fund a new water distribution system throughout the western side, the western suburbs of Portland, and that includes a total of a $1.3 billion program, and that is the raw water facility, which is down on the Willamette River in just south of Wilsonville, pulling water out of the Willamette River and pumping it up to the water treatment plant through about 8 miles of transmission line. Comes to the water treatment plant, which is what we are talking about here today. And then from there, the water treatment plant then pumps it out through the rest of the distribution system, which is about another 25 miles of piping. And it goes throughout Hillsborough, Beaverton, and Tigard areas. An important item to discuss about this project is this project is being released through the CMGC method, delivery method, which means that SUNT was had to propose and was pre-selected to be the construction manager, general contractor on behalf of the client. And we will be managing bidding out all scopes of work and really managing the construction and finances for the client on this project. The project a little bit more project specifics for the water treatment plant is it is located 1.5 miles southwest Walton Sherwood Road and southwest 124th Street intersection in Sherwood. So in the picture there, you kind of see where the red box is at, is exactly where the plant will be located. An important fact for this project is that one of the main purposes of this project is to provide a seismically resilient design to withstand a major seismic event. So in the event of a large earthquake, is that this plant is to remain operational, or is able to be resume operation with a very short period of time of an event, and be able to ensure that we have clean water being distributed to all of the to the public. This location was strategically chosen due to the stable basalt or granite bedrock that exists in this area. So for any trades that have to do work in the ground, excavations or anything like that, blasting will most likely be required. And that is all reflected within the geotechnical report as well as the contract documents. This is a greenfield site, is heavily forested. So one of the first things that the civil contractor will have to do is obviously deforest everything, get all the vegetation out of the area to be able to make way for our new structures. The primary AHJs, or authorities having jurisdiction, and permitting agencies involved with this project are the Oregon DEQ, Washington County, City of Sherwood, Tualatin Valley Fire District, and others. I just want to point out that there are some other AHJs that do have responsibility with this project, but you can see there's quite a few entities that are involved with this project that we need to make sure that we are accommodating. So the project site overview. So on that the slide that was shown earlier, this is really what the meat and potatoes of the project. It's, like I said earlier, it's a greenfield site. It is approximately 23 acres that will have to be cleared and that we end up building out. There's multiple treatment areas. There exists a 15,000 square foot administration building with Class A office finishes. There's approximately 40,000 cubic yards of structural concrete being placed on the project. Earthwork quantities, there's 65,000 cubic yards of just cut and fill on the job. There's 180,000 cubic yards of structural excavation and 120,000 cubic yards of pipe excavation. And as I mentioned earlier, all that has to be drilled and blasted to be able to remove that product. There is about $20 million of process equipment that will be purchased by SUNT and then turned over to the installing contractor to install. There's the large round structure in the picture. There is the clear well. That's a 10 million gallon pre-stressed concrete reservoir. There are multiple pre-engineered metal buildings on the campus, as well as which in all of this scope provides multiple building trade opportunities for basically the scopes that we're talking about today, 4 through 14 and 41. So kind of a little bit zooming in a little bit more, this is the main process structure. This is the largest structure. It's on site and incorporates multiple processes really under one roof, I would say. It's all one connected structure. On the far left-hand side there is the administration building. As I mentioned earlier, is a Class A office space that incorporates, there is a locker room in there, showers, there's a laboratory, there's meeting rooms, office spaces, and the structure itself is a structural steel skeleton with metal siding and metal roofing, and it also has solar panels that goes up on top of the metal roofing. And on the bottom in the center there, the main chemical area, that is where all the main chemicals are stored for the project, and from there is distributed throughout the campus. And chemicals are used for different parts of this process. The outdoor chemical facility, again, is just another area where chemicals and where basically the liquid oxygen and other gaseous chemicals are stored there and then distributed from there. Up in the upper left-hand corner, right next to the administration building, is the ballasted flock. So this is where this is the first structure where the water from the Willamette River will come into, and from there, chemicals are added to be able to segregate out solids, as we call it, within the water. And then from there, the water will go to the ozone generator and contactor building. This is where ozone gas is created and injected into the stream of water in order to use this for disinfection and other processes, other chemical reactions within the process. And then from the ozone generator contactor, it goes into the filters. This is where it goes through a sand filter type process where much more extreme than your typical, filters, that you have in your house, but essentially it's the same process. It pulls out smaller fines within the water and to help with the taste and smell of the water. And then from there, it goes into the UV disinfection. And again, this goes through UV bulbs where UV light is cast across the water, and that UV process again helps with disinfection. Go ahead. This picture shows it shows the same 4 structures, just kind of from a different point of view. So I'm going to talk specifically on the left picture here. On the bottom center there is the equalization overflow basin. This is really 2 concrete boxes buried in the ground. There is no lid on it, so it's open to the air, but really it's meant to hold finished water in there to be able to help equalize and the system as a whole. On the right-hand side is the equipment storage building. That is a pre-engineered, one of the pre-engineered structures, and really it's just meant for equipment storage and chemical storage. In the upper left-hand corner is the clear well, the large round tank. As I mentioned earlier, it's a 10 million gallon pre-stress tank. And then in the top side there, on the kind of the top right, is the finished water pump station, and that's where really the finished product leaves the plant right there at the finished water pump station and goes to the transmission line out to the public. These are the solids handling. So as I mentioned earlier, throughout the processes, they're adding chemicals and product to pull the solids out of the water. All the solids get diverted over to these structures here. First, it comes into the thickeners, where the purpose of that is to basically, this is, as I mentioned, thicken it, but it's meant to coagulate all of the larger particles and get them together. And from there, it takes those solids and sends them into the thickened solids pump station, which is a 30 to 40 foot deep structure that's buried in the ground. From there, it pumps it up into the thickened sludge holding tank, which is really just a holding tank to ensure that we have capacity. And then the solids dewatering, which basically is where they squeeze any water that's available within the sludge or the solids. It squeezes out into the water, and the solids then get trucked off site. All right, project schedule. So this is a very high 10,000 foot view of the project. We're expecting to be able to put a shovel in the ground come first or second quarter of next year. And we have a fairly lengthy civil scope that will take a couple months to be able to get going with drilling and blasting and making ready for concrete to begin. So we expect about 4 or 5 months into starting the projects when concrete will start. And then, as you can see here, is kind of the flow of really your typical type construction, where starting from the ground up. So most of the architectural type work we're expecting to start in the second quarter of 2023, as well as same with the structural steel and miscellaneous metals. And then from there, really just closing out the project, starting it up, and making sure that everything functions correctly. And then milestones for the project is currently we have to be fully commissioned and started up in March of 2025 for us to be able to start pushing clean water out through the distribution systems. So bid schedule and bidding opportunities. So this project right now is being released in two packages. We call them GMPs, or guaranteed maximum prices. The first package, which is about 95% of all the scopes. So all the scopes we're talking about today will fall into this category of GMP 1. We're expecting to advertise early to mid-October with a pre-bid kickoff meeting in late October and bids due in mid-December. These dates, we're still working on ironing these out. Once we have a finalized date of when these will be, we will be publishing those on the Our Reliable website, as well as out with the with other public outreach articles to make sure that you guys get invited, or you guys know of the dates, as well as we will be publishing it on SmartBid, and we'll send out articles or information out to everyone that's involved with SmartBid. GMP2, which is not that bids out in 2023. That's really landscaping and final touches, yard work that needs to happen at the very end of the job. But like I said, all of the architectural and scopes that we're talking about today are going to happen in GMP1. So project delivery, as I mentioned earlier, this is a guaranteed maximum price, which allows us to be able to create this packages or scopes of work categories that we call them, that are spread out across the two GMPs. So right now we've developed about 70, I think we're about 75 work category packages that each one of them has a very defined scope of work. And each scope of work will detail exactly, the parameters of what you're bidding and what's expected of you to price. Most of the work category packages are what we consider as low bid, best responsive. So what that means is, as you submit a bid to us, we will evaluate. We want to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples across the board, that everyone's bidding, that everyone has captured the scope correctly. What we will do is abstract it, which is comparing everyone together, and then at that point, whoever is the lowest bid will be the one that most of the time is the one that will get selected. There are a few work category packages that are considered best value with qualifications, and we'll talk a little bit more about that best value process here in a little bit. So estimated cost of work. So we've, part of the GMP CMGC process that we've been involved with is we've done a lot of iterations on the cost modeling for the client, and these are kind of estimated costs of where we see the project is somewhat trending, but most likely with the competitive nature of this, that we expect that prices will go lower. So right now, if you look at the large pie chart on the left-hand side, the gray other that's kind of stuck out there is about $30 million. And really that other is all the scopes that we're talking about today. So divisions 4 through 14 and 41. So on the right-hand side, in that vertical column that you see there, is kind of each of those categories and the assumed value that each of those will estimated value that each of those packages will be. So this will kind of give you all a understanding of what size packages we're anticipating, so that way you all can be able to determine and make it, determine if you all want to bid this project. So this is a chart that we show, specifically the packages we're talking about today. As I mentioned earlier, each of the packages are going to be issued in GMP1. They're all going to be issued as a subcontract. The only one of these packages or categories that we're talking about today that we see is going to be a best value is the painting scope. And the reason for that is we want to make sure that the individuals bidding this scope have a resume and have past experience that can be able to do this type of work. And just to be open and honest with everyone, that SUNT does plan on putting together a competitive price for the structural steel and miscellaneous metals. And that, like I said, that will be competitively bid amongst everyone else. And again, whoever is the lowest price will end up most likely getting selected for the project. So when we go to bid, we'll issue out quite a bit of items with the bid package, not along with the drawings and specifications that usually go along it. Along with most bids, we'll have explicit instructions to the bidders that will be attached to the invitation. That those instructions will detail out step by step of specifically milestones in the schedule for the bid. So that way you all understand, what when bids are due, when RFIs are due, when addenda cutoff deadlines are, as well as how to be able to submit the bids and exactly what information we're looking for. We'll provide the detailed scopes of work for each work category, and that will have the inclusions and exclusions. And like I said earlier, really providing the parameters of what the scope is that you're bidding, and that we're setting our expectations up front with you all. We'll have a explicit bid form that has been customized for each scope of work, and basically just says, here's the information, here's how we want you to break out your pricing. So that way when we do abstract or compare everyone's prices, we're able to ensure that we're comparing apples to apples. We'll have exhibits and attachments, which I will talk about here in a little bit. The construction schedule. So we do have a detailed P6 schedule that's been put together, and that schedule will be provided to you all. So that way you guys can be able to look at that for your bidding purposes, to be able to determine your general conditions, is also to be able to determine when it's expected that you'll be putting work in place. As mentioned earlier, the drawings and specifications. One thing to note is that these drawings will be going out as stamped documents from the engineer. So these are going to be ready to construct documents. We'll also attach geotechnical reports and other supplemental information, such as site logistics and laydown plans, excavation and stockpile plans, etc. So the instructions to bidders, as I mentioned earlier, this will go out with each of an invitation, but really it just goes through, breaks down to all the bidders of what the expectations are. So going through the bidding documents, bidding procedures, in the event of substitutions that you want to offer, what steps you have to do to when providing a substitution. Bidding requirements and subcontractor pre-qualification process, as well as we'll go over, kind of again the statement of work, our expectations of submittals, the schedules, project closeout information, as well as WIFIA requirements, which WIFIA is a federal funding program where WIFIA has because the owner's accepting federal funds for this project, WIFIA requires that we have to follow certain reporting procedures, as well as they have makes us follow Davis-Bacon. So this project, just be clear with everyone that this project is not only Oregon prevailing wage, but also has Davis-Bacon. So what our instructions tell everyone is that you take the higher, whichever program has the higher of the two rates is the one you have to pay. And then we also talk about, in the instructions to bidders, talks about insurances and bidding documents. So the exhibits and attachments that will go out with the bidding documents, I'm not going to go through each of these in detail. If you want to know more about these in detail, I recommend you go back to the Our Reliable website. And on there, if you go to the first week, we actually went through each of these exhibits in detail. So feel free to open up that recorded meeting, and you can be able to learn more about these. But you can see here, there's quite a bit of information, but really it's meant to really just be clear upfront with everyone of what's expected of you, and also what's expected of SUNT, to make sure that we all have a clear understanding of our responsibilities on the project, and to be able to make sure that we all work well together. So the best value submission, best value process. So submission, evaluation, grading, and selection. So I'll turn this over to Matt Gribbins, who's, like I said earlier, he's the project manager for the program for the client, and he wanted to be able to talk to this process with you all.
All right, so for the best value packages, which we didn't have too many in the scope of work that we're talking about today, but I'll run through this real quick. To prevent any conflict, we're having all best value bids be submitted directly to the owner in sealed envelopes, or I think we're actually doing it electronically, but we'll provide direction on that in the bid documents. The best value packages will have two components, a qualifications component and a cost component. We will open the bids privately and score the bids. We'll evaluate the qualifications and then look at the cost and come up with an overall score for each of the bidders. Go to the next slide. And the reason we're doing it on some of the packages is just to ensure that the subcontractors are capable of performing the work. This job is a little unique in the fact that it's more of an industrial type job, with the water treatment process. So we're trying to keep the qualification package fairly small, so it's not too onerous to the bidders. We're probably going to be at a max of about 15 pages, and it will include general information about the firm, experiences and qualifications that show that you're capable of doing the type of work that we have on this project, key personnel and understanding of the project, and then also safety records and references that would apply to the previous work that's been done that can show experience in this area. Next slide. Each of the different scopes will have a specific bid form that's included in the GMP bid offering. The bids must be submitted on those forms. Sun will be helping us to evaluate the bids to ensure that the entirety of the scope has been incorporated, basically leveling out the bids to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples when we look at the different bidders and potential exclusions or things that maybe weren't included. Stunt calls this abstracting. Once that's done, Stunt will meet with the owner to review the leveled bids with us, and we will take the level bids and incorporate them in with the scoring on the qualifications part and come up with an overall selection for the best value subcontractor or vendor. We're using a 1,000-point grading system. It'll be broken down pretty much on the same things that we just talked about that are itemized on that third bullet, which would be the pricing and then the sort of non-cost proposal information. And then if we need to, we might choose to have some interviews or discussions with some of the firms to clarify or try to help us finalize the selection. And being that Stunt is going to bid on at least one of the packages that are included today, I think that was the structural steel. If you have any questions about the bidding process or how we're going to approach the best value packages, feel free to contact either myself or Stunt. And we have email addresses there, and they're also going to be available on the website, I believe.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. All right, so now we're going to get more into the detailed scope of work. So first off, what we want to go over is seismic design requirements. So as I mentioned earlier, the purpose of this project, one of the primary purposes of this project is to design a seismically resilient plant that can be able to withstand a large event and be able to remain operational. So because of that comes with a lot of engineering related to seismic performance. So we're trying to educate everyone is that there is engineering requirements for quite a few scopes that really help ensure that anchorage points and design of anything that be it the elevators or the pre-engineered buildings or overhead cranes or anything like that it meets these seismic requirements. So there are some architectural items exterior framing, for example, I know is one of them that requires some seismic engineering, as well as there's a couple non-structural components and non-building structures that require it. So what's entailed with this seismic qualification is basically the specs are very detailed. It tells you, it's kind of very prescriptive of what needs to be done. But essentially, qualification is able to be achieved through analysis, which means engineering, paperwork, calculations to ensure that that the product has been designed appropriately. You can either test it, which means putting on what they call a shake table, and it simulates a seismic event to witness, physically witness if the product is able to withstand it, or through experience, meaning that the product is shown to have already survived a large seismic event somewhere else, either in the country or in the world, and that's we're able to utilize that experience of saying, see, it withstood it without malfunction, and that achieves experience. So really, as mentioned earlier, there's quite a few scopes. Most of it is related to the process equipment and process piping, but there are a few architectural items and, as I mentioned, non-structural components that will require some seismic performance design. And then delegated design requirements. So this doesn't necessarily mean seismically design. It just means this is more of a deferred design, which is pretty typical for most projects. And Jared, do you want to go ahead and kind of explain this a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So the delegated design submittals, I've got a short list going here of the items that are required to be delegated to design. First thing to know is that they're designated to be design build systems, and so all of the coordination that entails with it being a design build delegated design on these items. They do need to be stamped and sealed by a professional engineer from the state of Oregon. Just a short list of the delegated design items, and I scrubbed the overall list of these items and base it only on the audience that we have here today. So we've got the interior and exterior steel framing for folks who are looking at the drywall. For the steel and miscellaneous metals, we have the stair and railing assemblies, as well as metal platforms, supports, and gratings, some fiberglass reinforced products, decorative formed metals, some of the exterior paneling on the building. Cross-laminated timber is a delegated design, roof accessories, equipment curbs, the aluminum entrances, glazing for the doors and windows, acoustical panel ceilings. Metal building systems are delegated design. That's pretty typical. Bridge cranes and the monorail hoists as well. So there's a larger list of items that are to be delegated design, but this particular list is just relevant to the audience that we have present today. And then I'll dive into a little bit more detail on each one of these scopes as we go through the CSI division scopes of work. So I'll go through these in order. So starting with Division 4, masonry. So Division 4 in the CSI is going to be encompassed. We're going to package everything in Division 4 under one work package, work category. For masonry, we've got about $1 million estimated value for the masonry package on the job. Really, it's comprised of about 8,000 square feet of 8-inch CMU and 18,000 feet of 12-inch CMU. And there's some miscellaneous stone veneer landscape walls that comprise the masonry scope. So a lot of what we have here is within the process building. We have some pony walls inside the building, cordoning off specific areas in the building, different administration or process areas with CMU walls, and a couple exterior walls as well with CMU on there. So the CMU block with exterior facing CMU needs to have an integral water repellent in it. For the Division 5 work, which is our miscellaneous metals and structural steel, that'll be packaged together, also under one work package for the whole division. Estimated value for that is about $12 million. You can see that some of the quantities on there. The majority of the structures in the project are concrete walls, and so what we're seeing here is the structural steel and decking to form the roof and ceiling structures for these buildings. We also have quite a few stairs on the site, a total of 70 flights of stairs, and we'll also have pipe supports on there, some pre-engineered pipe supports that go into the structure. Handrail, 4,500 lineal feet, and that's a mixture of both your standard aluminum handrail as well as some decorative handrail for the job site. And then inclusive of that miscellaneous metals and structural steel scope, we have the ladders, the roof ladders. There's some grating, anchor bolts, plates, canopies, and other miscellaneous metal plates and closures throughout the job site and embeds. Under Division 6 for woods, plastics, and composites, that's going to be grouped under two different work packages, one for CLT panels and one for FRP. So the screen on the screenshot on the right shows the CLT panels or cross-laminated timber panels. So that 15,000 square foot administration building that we were talking about at the beginning, the ceiling structure, the structural for the ceiling structure is going to be a cross-laminated timber panel system. And so that's the area that we see in blue as CLT panels. And then the FRP, there's a couple different areas, significant areas on the job site with some FRP components included in that. The area that I have on the bottom left-hand screen is probably the more significant area of FRP. There's some FRP walkways, grading supports, and stairs within the main chemical area. This main chemical area, they've got a lot of caustic chemicals that will be used when the building's in operation, and so a lot of the construction in this area needs to be FRP in order to make sure that it can handle the environment that it's going to be in. So estimated value between these two packages is about 1.2 million between the CLT and the FRP. So for Division 7 for thermal and moisture protection, this one's going to be grouped under 5 different work packages. So damp proofing, waterproofing, metal roofs, and wall panels will be together, PVC roofing, caulking and sealants, and expansion control. So the image that is at the bottom of the screen there shows the difference between some of the roof structures on the job site. So what we have in red are anything that's a metal roof, and anything that's in green, that's our PVC roofing. And the stuff that's in gray is either a process area, so exposed to below, or it's a concrete deck. But I think the takeaway that I want to show on this particular slide is just we have a lot of different roof profiles. There's going to be a lot of trim and components to get this roof system pulled together for this structure. So we've got about a $6 million value estimated for the Division 7 work, and some significant coordination to make sure that we get this this roof structure pulled together correctly across all these different buildings. I do also want to point out that that work category for metal roof includes the wall panels. So the sides of this administration building includes box rib metal siding in a number of different areas. And so that's inclusive of that work category 0741 scope. All right, moving over to Division 8 for our openings. We're going to break this CSI division into 3 different groups. We've got the doors and hardware, which includes the hollow metal doors as well as the FRP doors. Like I mentioned before, that main chemical area requires FRP for the majority of its components to withstand the environment inside that room. So we've got the doors and hardware, we've got overhead doors, and there's some aluminum frame entrances and storefronts. Total value of those 3 together is about 1.8 million. 26 of those aluminum entrances, 85 of the hollow metal, and 9 of the FRP entrances. And then we've got 30 overhead coiling doors on the job site. So those are galvanized, powered overhead coiling doors. So for finishes, this one's going to be broken up. So Division 9 is broken up into 5 different components. We've got gypsum wall boards, which includes the interior, which includes that the framing. We've got the acoustical panel ceilings, flooring, sound absorbing wall units, and painting. And it's that last one, the work category 0990 painting, which is going to be a best value selection. Those 5 work packages together come out to be just north of about $6 million or so. The reason that painting is going to be best value selection, there's a number of different areas. Some of the chemicals that are going to be used on the site are damaging to concrete, and so they require a chemical resistant coating on there that requires some experience having placed these coatings down in the past. Some of them are very sensitive in their placement methods, and so that's going to be a best value selection for that painting. Flooring on the site. So like we mentioned, that administration building is a Class A office building. We've got a number of different flooring types on there, including resilient sheet flooring, rubber tile floors, some areas with carpet, ceramic tile, and floor tile in the bathrooms. And then there's a polished concrete as well as inside that administration building. So a couple different flooring types in there. Moving over to Division 10, so this one's split up into quite a few different work packages when we start talking about specialties. A lot of smaller scopes on these specialty items. So not a significantly large value in comparison to the other scopes on the job, but there are some scopes in here that are maybe enticing to some smaller businesses that maybe they want to pick up some work on the job site. So there's a couple smaller packages here. The screenshot that I have down there is a sign that's on the exterior portion of the job site displaying, on the exterior wall for the plant identification. So there's some high visibility product, high quality product that's going to go onto the exterior for this thing. All right, Division in 11 and 12, also a fairly small scopes of work in comparison to some of the other stuff, but in that Division 11, we're going to have the work categories for the residential and laboratory appliances. So within the break room of that administration building, your typical break room type of stuff, so your refrigerator, microwave kind of things. Inside the laboratory, there's some specialized appliances that go inside the laboratory, some specialized glassware washers, explosion-proof refrigerators, and the like for that laboratory. So that one has an estimated value of about $90,000 for those appliances. In Division 12, window treatment, so your shades, motorized shades, the casework encounters. That casework encounters also includes the laboratory casework as well. So that one has an estimated value of about $320,000 on the Division 12 work put together. Division 13 is inclusive of just the pre-engineered metal building. So all Division 13 will be wrapped into one work package. All 3 structures will be under the same work category, that work category 1300. We estimate that's got about a $500,000 estimated value. So there's 3 main structures on the site. So the equipment storage building is about an 1,800 square foot structure. Equalization overflow basins is 550 square foot, and then the thickened sludge pump station is a 350 square foot building. Division 14, conveyance. We've got 2 elevators and a platform lift on the site, so that's going to be broken up into 2 separate work packages there. For one for the elevators and one for the platform lift. About $500,000 estimated value for those. For the 2 elevators, the elevators are a 4-stop elevator. So 2 of those stops are going to be front facing and 2 of them are rear facing. So there's an opening on each side of the elevator. The specification will allow the electric traction elevator or a hydraulic roomless elevator. And we'll make that decision based off of the pricing proposal that we receive from our vendor. So whichever one makes best sense from a cost competitive standpoint will work out for the job. So either the electric traction or hydraulic roomless will work based off of the design on the project. And then there's one platform lift as well. And then Division 41 is our last spec section, our last CSI division that we're going through today. So this is the material and processing handling equipment, and this is all going to be captured under one major work package for cranes and hoists. So that one has an estimated value of about $400,000, comprised of two 15-ton bridge cranes, one 5-ton gantry crane, and then we have two portable davit cranes that are going to go in on the job site, and those davit cranes have a number of additional bases that are going to be installed throughout the job sites. Wherever we need to get that davit crane placed for the operator's usage, they're able to move that thing around and install it at different structures, and then operate that davit crane. All right.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate it, Jared. So we just want to bring up, before we get to the question and answers, is that we do have some additional subcontract webinars coming up. So as I mentioned earlier, this is the third one we've done. This is and any previous ones, you can log on to the Our Reliable website and be able to view the previous sessions. We do have a few more coming up in the next 2 months that we ask that that's either you're able to attend, or feel free to let anyone that you know within the industry that may have interest in these divisions. So next week we'll be going over fire protection, plumbing, and HVAC. Following week after that would be electrical and instrumentation. The week after that would be the wire and strand wrapped pre-stressed concrete tank, which is the Clearwell tank. Then we'll have the week after that would be the process equipment, and then ending it with site work. So if you all have, let's go ahead and open it up now to questions, Q&A, or open discussion. Anybody? I do notice that we have a few other individuals that did log in after we already started. What we're asking is if you all could be able to either in the chat room add your contact information, or to email us directly, so that way we can ensure that you guys get added to the smart bid, the software that we're utilizing for the eventual bid of everything, so we can make sure we're contacting you directly and keeping you in the loop of bidding opportunities, or if dates change and when they change. Any comments or questions? All right. Well, I appreciate it all. Thank you for your time today, and look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, everybody.